Hola, hola, buenas noches. Bienvenidos a otro Meetup más en Bitcoin en Basibar. Yo soy Lorena Ortiz, para los que no me conozcan. Y el día de hoy estamos reunidos aquí para hablar de algo interesante que se viene desarrollando en Bitcoin desde hace varios años ya. Algo llamado Rootstock, que es una sidechain de Bitcoin. Va a quedar un poco más claro qué es esto de una sidechain ahorita que nos explique Aaron. Esta charla va a ser bilingüe, es decir, todos aquí hablan inglés, más o menos, ¿no? Ok, si necesitan, igual podemos hacer como un poco de traducción de lo que se diga en la presentación para que puedan entenderlo mejor tanto los que están en casa como los que están aquí, ¿vale? Entonces, bueno, los dejo con Aaron Koenig, un querido amigo de Bitcoin Invasiva. Un aplauso para él, por favor.
Muchas gracias, Lorena. Ya disculpen mi español no es tan bueno, pero la segunda parte de esta noche, y quizás la parte más interesante, será en español, porque tenemos el fundador de Rootstock, no aquí personalmente, pero en el chat. Entonces, después de mi pequeña charla introductoria, pueden preguntar en español. So you have to now, you know, uh, listen to me in English, but I hope you're all fine with that. So we talk about Rootstock, and that is DeFi built on Bitcoin. DeFi, short for decentralized finance. What is that? Next slide, please. Decentralized finance means basically everything that you can do in the traditional finance world, like lending and margin trading and all these things, but permissionless, totally private, censorship resistant, and without any government interference. That I would say these are the qualities of DeFi as opposed to, the traditional financial system. Yeah, so everything that is good in Bitcoin, that's all these qualities, that is now expanded to all aspects of finance. And you might normally associate DeFi, next slide please, with Ethereum, because so far Ethereum is without a doubt dominating the DeFi world. So lately, I think more than, I don't know, maybe 90% of all DeFi applications are on the Ethereum blockchain. And there are other so-called or wannabe Ethereum killers, Solana and Algorand and many Tezos, and there's so many now that try it. But of course, it's also easy. Usually, if you want to beat the incumbent, you cannot be just a little bit better. You need to be like, I don't know, orders of magnitude better. And Ethereum, of course, it has its problems, it has its shortcomings, but it works pretty well. So the question is, well, of course, it has big problems. Yeah, it's too centralized, it's too expensive, the gas fees are outrageously high, and especially now with this so-called merge, it's very centralized. Actually, just a couple of players are dominating Ethereum networks. It's really not what we want. It's really not the decentralized future that we should kind of think about. And for my modest view, I think the only player that has a fair chance to really beat Ethereum, be better in Ethereum, and be the big player in the DeFi world is Bitcoin. And that might be a bit surprising for most of you, for some of you, I don't know, for most people at least, because we know that Bitcoin is electronic cash and nothing else. Satoshi Nakamoto made Bitcoin to be electronic cash, and he even on purpose he reduced all the programmability. You cannot do much on the Bitcoin network. Yeah? You can say that a transaction has to be signed by so many people, multi-sig, and you can set a certain date for something. But Bitcoin definitely is not a truly complete programming language. It's not the supercomputer that Ethereum wants to be, and all the Ethereum killers wants to be, and basically what we need. Yeah, if you really want to have all the services that we have in the financial world, we need everything to be in the form of smart contract, everything in the form of automated software. That's the whole promise of Ethereum. And so far with Bitcoin, this just was not possible. Bitcoin was made to be cash and nothing else. But it is needed. Yeah? And the question is does it really make sense if Bitcoin as money, as cash, but then Ethereum or whatever, Tenos, Solana, to do everything else? Wouldn't it be much better to have that one system that is there for everything. So we have the strengths of Bitcoin combined with the strengths of smart contracts and programmability. So there's a team around Diego that we meet later, and Sergio Lerner, who was a Bitcoin core developer, and when he was in that function, he basically saved Bitcoin. Yeah, there are several bugs in the Bitcoin code, and Sergio was the one who debugged this code, and he's also the one who identified these. Maybe you heard that Satoshi Nakamoto has mined 1 million Bitcoin. Sergio Lerner is the one who found that out. I don't know, some wizardry. He's a very smart guy, and Diego also, of course, very smart and good businessman. And it's a really, really amazing team in Buenos Aires, and they set up this sidechain based on Bitcoin. Yes, exactly. Of course, it's not the only one. There are several projects that try to work on the base of Bitcoin. There's Liquid by Blockstream. There's a project called Stacks. There's an RGB protocol. I don't know that much about them, to be honest, and maybe another time I can speak about them. For me personally, I think the most advanced of them all is Rootstock. You might also heard about SRSK for a while. They didn't use the name Rootstock for whatever legal issues, but they're now coming back to it. Much better name, I think. So what is it? So it is a second layer to Bitcoin. The basis layer is the Bitcoin blockchain as we all know it, which works perfectly well for the last more than 10 years as a means of payment, as a means of settlement, but you cannot do smart contracts, anything else. So we need a second layer, exactly, and then you can do the smart contracts. What does that exactly mean, the second layer? I mean, what Rootstock is, it's a sidechain. So it is a different blockchain. It's not Bitcoin, but exactly these two chains, the Bitcoin blockchain here, layer 1, and the Rootstock sidechain, they are connected. They're connected through a process which is called merge mining. So that means there is no, Rootstock would not work without Bitcoin. Yeah? So there are no Rootstock nodes or Rootstock miners. It's all kind of piggybacking on top of Bitcoin on purpose. So it works like this. There's a so-called two-way path. And the Rootstock sidechain has its own currency, its own native currency, which is called the smart Bitcoin or RBTC, Rootstock BTC, which always has exactly the same value as Bitcoin. And it is pegged to it. So it means you have to lock the Bitcoin to get these smart Bitcoins. And that's also on purpose that these two chains are really totally close together. And the advantage, of course, is you don't have to, now if you want to invest in DeFi, you want to maybe change your Bitcoin to whatever, some Luna token or some shitcoin that could go down. And even Ethereum, of course, nobody knows it will go down. I mean, most of the shitcoins they basically have these curves going up and then going down and never coming up again. Yeah, whereas Bitcoin is more up and down, but in the long run up. So it's probably much more risky to do DeFi on any other chain. And doing it on Bitcoin, you can be probably quite sure that it will never lose the value. No? It will always have the value. The smart Bitcoins will always have the value of the Bitcoin. You can always get them back, so you never lose your Bitcoins because you have to lock them in order to use it. And of course, you need this smart Bitcoin as you need Ether and Ethereum as a gas fee. But the costs are not very high. That's also a very big advantage.
Aaron, quiero preguntar, ¿todos aquí han entendido todo? Porque podríamos regresar un poco y les digo como un resumen rápido de las diapositivas que ya pasamos antes de seguir con el tema. ¿Quieren que haga un resumen de lo que ya pasamos? ¿Sí?
¿En español?
¿En español? ¿Sí? Ok, perfecto. Entonces vamos a hacer eso, ¿vale? Para que todos podamos entender lo que ha pasado hasta ahorita. Vamos de nuevo. Ok, entonces tenemos lo que son las finanzas descentralizadas, DeFi, como se conoce, donde se pueden hacer diferentes cosas, ¿no? O sea, podemos hacer, bueno, es todo un desarrollo que existe de productos financieros, como los que conocemos tradicionalmente, pero sin necesidad de permiso de instituciones, sin necesidad de regulación, como muy no estable, más bien como muy dura de parte de los reguladores, de los gobiernos. Todo el mundo tiene acceso de forma libre. Entonces, todas estas herramientas que se están desarrollando en finanzas descentralizadas son algo muy positivo para el desarrollo financiero, tanto de personas que están desbancarizadas como de las personas que utilizamos regularmente Bitcoin y otras herramientas. Ahora, DeFi está generalmente relacionado con Ethereum, porque Ethereum está hecho para que se puedan desarrollar algo que se llaman dApps o aplicaciones descentralizadas. Por eso es que Ethereum ha tenido mayor desarrollo en este aspecto. Sin embargo, en Bitcoin también empezó a haber otro desarrollo al ver el ejemplo que se tenía en Ethereum. Y de ahí nacen diferentes protocolos que sirven para crear diferentes herramientas, diferentes dApps, como por ejemplo el caso de Liquid Network, que es otro desarrollo. Está Rootstock, que está ahí, este Stacks, y este de acá que no lo conocía, pero igual ahorita nos puedes aclarar qué es este. Pero bueno, por ejemplo, el Liquid Network tiene una interacción con otro tipo de tokens. Se pueden hacer tokens a partir de Bitcoin, ¿vale? O sea, tenemos TrueUSD, tenemos LBTC, L no sé qué, y de esta forma también tenemos, bueno, existe más bien la primera capa de Bitcoin, que es donde tenemos transacciones on-chain. Eso es lo primero que se creó de Bitcoin, y para poder tener todos estos desarrollos se tuvieron que crear otras segundas capas, como por ejemplo el caso también de Lightning Network, que es una segunda capa, y en el caso de Rootstock y muchas otras, es algo que se llama sidechain. Es decir, no corre encima de Bitcoin, sino como a la par. Y está ligado a partir de algo que se llama merge mining, y están ligados uno con el otro. De tal forma que Rootstock no podría existir si no existiera Bitcoin, ¿vale? Y, y Rootstock tiene un propio token, por así decirlo, que es RBTC, que se puede intercambiar entre la primera capa de Bitcoin y la segunda capa para poder interactuar con contratos inteligentes y todo el desarrollo que se tiene sobre Rootstock. Creo que hasta ahí más o menos tenemos un resumen. Y sigue ahora.
Thank you so much. Now, finally understood it. Thanks for explaining. So, where were we? Yeah, a little bit of the comparison of the two. I mean, one thing why I think it's important that all this is on Bitcoin. I mean, the money is in Bitcoin. Yeah, the market cap of Bitcoin is much higher than any other coins, and even Ethereum, like way less. Now here, and what's even much more impressive is the computing power of the Bitcoin network. It's really by a few orders of magnitude higher than anything else. Now, of course, as the Ethereum has changed from proof of work to proof of stake, the hash rate might not be a relevant figure anymore. But this is a figure from the time when, before the merge, just before the merge, and you see how much more computing power is in Bitcoin, and that means how much safer it is. I mean, all the other coins, they can relatively easily be attacked by some evil players, and it happens all the time. Yeah? Bitcoin, I think it's next to impossible that anybody hacks the Bitcoin network. Of course, they can hack exchanges, all that have happened, but the Bitcoin network itself has run without any hacks for the last more than 12 years, and that's quite impressive, I'd say. And now a very interesting thing, I mean, you may know, maybe if you work with Ethereum yourself, you have to try to mint NFTs or change NFTs. I mean, the fees are just crazy. Yeah? It just makes no sense. For me, Ethereum has become totally unusable. I used it a while ago, but it just makes no sense if you have to pay a few $100s just to mint an NFT and then pay another 50 just to send it. Yeah? It's totally crazy. And there's might be some others which are, I think we're still for the other chart. So you might think, because at the moment, of course, not so many people use Rootstock, and that's why the transaction fees are high and so low, because it's basically like a few cents. Yeah, when the average transaction fee with Ethereum was 17, and it was just a transaction. For a smart contract, can be much more, and with Rootstock you have cents. And you might think it's because of so many people use it, but that's not true. The fact is, because the merge mining, because the Bitcoin miners, they already make the money with Bitcoin. All their calculation, all economics is based on how much you have to spend and how much Bitcoins do they get. And they have to spend a little bit more to mine the smart Bitcoins, but it doesn't really matter for them. They don't have to charge a lot. They can have a little fee for mining on top of Bitcoin, the smart Bitcoins, And that's it. And that will always stay like that. There's no chance that suddenly the smart Bitcoin or the Rootstock transaction fee will break out like crazy. It will always be very close to Bitcoin. And some things are quite interesting, the similarities between the two. And that's on purpose. I mean, the people around Sergio Lerner, they could have easily, invented the wheel again, but they say they wanted to take all the things on the thing that work well. They took the same programming language, Solidity. They took the virtual machine of Ethereum, basically copied it. So one could even say that Rootstock is a fork of Ethereum, just better, safer, cheaper because it runs on Bitcoin. But basically, it's more or less the same. It counts from virtual machine, all these like geeky things that I'm also not an expert in. But what's interesting, if for instance, if you have programmed smart contracts or even an exchange or something on Ethereum, it's quite easy to transform it and turn it into a Rootstock smart contract or Rootstock platform. And that has been made a lot. Yeah? For instance, the first applications, the first websites that were running on Rootstock, they were basically copies of successful Ethereum projects. So for instance, Uniswap became RSK-Swap, and there are a number of others. Yeah. So which is, of course, in a way makes it simple. And they did it on purpose to make it easy, to make it compatible. And of course, the big difference, of course, the market share of Ethereum is still by far the highest, and Rootstock is not so well known. And that's I doubt why. And that's something I would like to ask Diego when he comes later in this chat, because they have been working on this for a couple of years. I remember Rootstock was announced here in Mexico City 7 years ago, 2015, at the Latin American Bitcoin Conference, and they have worked and worked. Of course, they have put most of the energy into building this platform, building the system, which is quite a big challenge. Yeah? And yeah, they did some marketing, but not such a big way. Yeah, so probably more people know about some DeFi shitcoins than know about Rootstock. But that has to change, and I think it will change. Yeah, because the basis is good. So next slide, please.
Digo de una vez, rápido. Lo que está diciendo Aaron es que en Ethereum generalmente tenemos fees muy altas y cuesta mucho interactuar para poder comprar NFTs, para poder interactuar con DeFi, para poder interactuar con diferentes protocolos. Y lo que sucede en Rootstock es que como está pareada la cuestión de las comisiones con la red de Bitcoin, generalmente es muchísimo más barato. Entonces, los precios, los costos de poder transaccionar y de poder crear y de poder interactuar con Rootstock se diferencian muchísimo de lo que está pasando en Ethereum. Esto, lo que estamos viendo aquí en la pantalla, es una diferencia entre el poder de procesamiento de Ethereum antes del merge y de Rootstock. Entonces, tenemos una gran diferencia entre ambas situaciones y se puede hacer básicamente lo mismo en ambas. También tenemos el lenguaje de programación para los que están interesados en programar en Ethereum. También Rootstock utiliza Solidity, lo cual es muy bueno porque si tú ya estás generando smart contracts, pues también puedes hacerlo en Rootstock. Además de que al ser Bitcoin un sistema mucho más robusto que Ethereum, por todas las cuestiones que se viven en cuestión, por ejemplo, de lo del merge, al ser más centralizado y otras situaciones, es mucho más seguro crear y desarrollar en Rootstock que en Ethereum. Y básicamente eso fue más o menos lo que dijo Aaron, palabras mucho más que las que dije, pero más o menos fue algo así lo que dijo. Pásale.
So the Rootstock ecosystem is still relatively small compared to Ethereum, but it's growing quickly. So if we look at the next slide.
Esa es la siguiente.
No, the advantages.
¿Otra vez?
Okay. No, it's good. Let's go to the advantages. I forgot that one. Well, just to wrap it up, the money is in Bitcoin. There's definitely much more money in Bitcoin than anything else. And if a big institution, if any like big whatever bank or financial institution wants to do something with crypto, they usually start with Bitcoin. And it's really by far the most well known. It is by far more decentralized than all the other coins, which of course mostly due to the first mover advantage that Bitcoin had. Yeah, in the first year, of course, Bitcoin was not very decentralized. It was basically Satoshi and a few guys doing everything, making lots of mistakes. which would be totally unthinkable today. It's just a small group of people, they mine all that and they pre-mine and all the bugs that Bitcoin had in the first 1-2 years. Nobody can afford that today. But of course, Bitcoin grew out of that. Bitcoin is now this big juggernaut, and so many people working on it, so many smart minds. No other coin can ever achieve that again. Yeah, it's like just a historical, unique situation. So you have the very high hash rate, and you have the very established proof of work mechanism. Of course, there are all these debates about the energy, and so some people say proof of work, the fact that it needs energy is good for the success of a green and renewable energy system in the world. I don't want to go too much into that now, but this whole debate of POV, proof of stake, proof of work, it's quite interesting, and I think proof of work is still good and has its right, and proof of stake has lots of disadvantages. Yeah? But for sure, it's the most secure. It has much lower transaction fees than Ethereum, and the critical thing, of course, is the network effect. Usually, a network effect always benefits the incumbent. In the case of DeFi, definitely benefits Ethereum, and all the others have a hard problem to ever keep up with Ethereum. And the only one who has the network effect on the side, because it's even older and even more well-known, even more well spread and well distributed, is Bitcoin. Not in DeFi world yet, but it's still Bitcoin. So if people realize that you can do everything you can do with Ethereum and all the other software Ethereum, you can do with Bitcoin better, cheaper, safer. I mean, for me, actually, it would be a no-brainer. I mean, the only question for me is why didn't they have the success they deserve? And of course, that's also why I think it's important to have talks like these. And thank you so much for inviting us. We can get the word out. Because we're not selling anything. It's not that you can buy the product. Quite the opposite. It's more that if you're a developer, if you're a businessman, or woman, and if you want to do something, and you thought about maybe building a new DeFi platform on Ethereum or Solana or Algorand, the only thing that I would like you to think about is, hey, why not build it on Bitcoin? Why not reach more people with it, and why not have the strength and the power of Bitcoin powering your business? And many people do that. I think now we have this nice slide with many logos, right? Yeah, the Bitcoin. Yeah. So it's still a relatively small ecosystem, but it's growing fast, and there are many more things that many companies haven't heard of yet. I mean, there are wallets, exchanges, money on chain. I go a little bit deeper into that. They have a very good stablecoin, their trading platform, Sovereign, Tropicals, Carnival is an output. I will talk a little bit more about 3 of these projects. And of course, there are new projects all the time. I'm pretty sure when we both will be in Buenos Aires next month, I hope you will come, at the Latin American Bitcoin Conference, by the way, yeah? It's the 10th edition, and of course, it's just before the World Cup in football, and Argentina might be the next World Cup, who knows, yeah? So it will all be very football themed. I hope you can all come to Buenos Aires. It's definitely worth the trip. And I'm pretty sure there will be lots of new Rootstock-based projects, because Rootstock has always been a partner of that conference, obviously, all from Buenos Aires. So I would like just quickly give you a short overview of 3 projects. So the first would be Sovereign. This is a trading platform, right? You can trade all the different coins and tokens based on Rootstock. You can do margin trading. You can earn interest. All the things that are like total DeFi you can do. And it works well. And they have this really funky design here with the honey badgets and astronaut. Really cool marketing, I would say. On the next screen, you see the margin trading platform. So, for instance, if you want to trade your Bitcoin into smart Bitcoins, vice versa, or if you want to change your smart Bitcoin into dollar on chain, or the Sovereign would be one of the platforms to do it. There are some others like Tropicals, I think Warnwall will become. And Sovereign is based in London. This is not one of these other Argentinian projects, but well-funded, venture capital, smart people in it. So have a look at Sovereign. The other project I want to have a look at is money on chain. That's very interesting, because the one reason why Bitcoin is still not being used in day-to-day daily life is the volatility. I mean, if you're a trader, you love the volatility. If you're a holder, you can cope with the volatility. If in the long run goes up, you don't mind if it goes down for a while. But if you're a business person, if you're a merchant, a consumer, of of course, you want to have a stable price which you can calculate on. And that's why still, even in the Bitcoin business, people still give the price in dollars or pesos or euros. And of course, that's not such a good thing. So stable coins are super important. And the dollar on chain, money on chain is a company, dollar on chain is a product, but there can also be euro on chain, or yuan on chain, peso on chain, name it. What's interesting, most of the stable coins that you might know, like the Tether or the USDC, they have this promise that they say, yeah, you get the token, and for every Tether, there's $1 on a bank account. And they claim that, and there are these doubts whether they really have all that money in the bank. But in any case, even if it's totally true and honest, why would the whole idea is to get out of the system, to get the banks get the government out of our pockets, to have a totally independent system which is not connected to the banks. So stable coins, which are backed by US dollar, for me that makes no sense at all. And then there's this other type of stable coins, which I think is much more advanced. It's the algorithmic stable coin, the one that works with crypto as a collateral, and with algorithms that make sure that this coin is always near to one currency unit that we're used to. The first of that kind was the DAI, which was first backed by Ethereum, and through very sophisticated algorithms, no idea how they do it, but the DAI is always more or less $1, maybe 99 cents, maybe $1, but there are no dollars in the system. They just use the dollar because we're used to that, And the same is true for the dollar on chain. There's no dollars anywhere in the system, also no Ethereum, no other shitcoins, no USDC, no Tether. This is 100% backed by Bitcoin. And it's very heavily over-collateralized, which means it's not one-to-one. For every every dollar on chain that's on the market, there are at least four times the amount in Bitcoin, in value in Bitcoin. Sometimes even more, even 8. Which means if the Bitcoin price goes down, which happens all the time, we just had it in summer, it has to go down a lot, like 85% in a very short time, and that actually never happened. So because they're very conservative and they have this very, very strong over-collateralization, what happened to the Luna coin, or the UST, did not happen with money on chain. Yeah, it also dropped a bit, and of course, if the of course, it's back to the Bitcoin. And theoretically, if the Bitcoin totally crashes, then okay, money on chain will also go down. But it hasn't happened in the last 3-4 years. So it seems to be a relatively stable coin. Let me explain a little bit how it works. So you have a stable coin, which is connected to the dollar, not exactly backed by the dollar, backed by Bitcoin. And there are two more tokens which make that possible. Because you would ask yourself, how is it possible to always keep it there? So there is because who would put Bitcoin in the system without any profit? Yeah, I mean maybe some idealists would do it, but no, do not. So if you put your Bitcoin in the system to back stable coins, you need some interest, some incentive, and for that there exists the so-called BitPro, which is a token based on Bitcoin, but there's a leverage to it. Not a very big one, but if the Bitcoin goes up, the BitPro goes up even more. If the Bitcoin goes down, the BitPro also goes down, but in the long run, the BitPro has had a performance of between 20 to 30% better than Bitcoin. And that's without calculating the dollar exchange rate, just how much you won when you own BitPro as opposed to just keeping the Bitcoin. So it's quite an interesting investment. I have some BitPro, and I'm quite happy with that investment. And the third token in that family is the so-called BTCX. That's a very risky thing. The BitPro is not very risky. Theoretically, yes, it could go down, but it never really happened. Whereas the BTX token, if the Bitcoin goes up, it goes up twice as much. And if the Bitcoin goes down, it also goes down twice as much. So that is a risky thing. This is for experienced traders. And these people, the traders, of course, they are willing to take a risk and they're willing to pay a high interest. That's basically how all these interest paying sites work, that the traders take it to have these leveraged trades, and they need the Bitcoins, otherwise it wouldn't be possible. So they're willing to pay, 10%, 50% interest, and the same is true here. So it's a mix. Of course, there are like fees in the system, and it all goes, the main profit goes here to the BitPro owners without a lot of risk. the traders, of course, can make a high profit with the BTX, but of course they can also lose. But that's the thing, yeah. The consumer, they want stability. The Bitcoin owners, they want some incentive, some interest, but not a very high risk. And for the traders, the risk is fine. That's a daily business, and they can make a lot of money. They lose, and if in the long run they win, they're okay.
Hacemos una pausa aquí para que me acuerde, sí, para que me acuerde de todo un poco. Ok.
Bueno, ok. Estábamos en las ventajas de tener DeFi en Bitcoin. Bueno, tenemos que Bitcoin tiene mucha más capitalización que Ethereum. O sea, hay más dinero ahí que en otras monedas, en otras criptomonedas. Bitcoin está mucho más descentralizada, un poco que ya había mencionado anteriormente. Tiene mucho más poder de hash rate, es decir, esto lo convierte en una red mucho más segura que otras. También tiene unas comisiones de transacción mucho más bajas y también tiene un efecto de network, o sea, de red. Luego tenemos que sobre Bitcoin ya hay varios desarrollos, incluyendo los que vemos ahí, Sovereign, Swap, Money on Chain, Defiant, Carnival, Tropicus, Text, Equality. Acá, explicó varias, Aaron, que ahorita les voy a explicar. Y acá, no sé si vas a explicar Tropicus, ¿no? Bueno, voy a agregarlo yo como extra. Aparte de las que les voy a explicar, Tropicus además sirve para poder pedir préstamos. Es decir, poder pedir prestado y prestar tú. Entonces, creo que esta es una herramienta muy interesante al momento en el que tú no quieres perder el Bitcoin. O sea, necesitas tener liquidez, pero no quieres vender el Bitcoin. Entonces, puedes prestarlo a alguien más y de ahí tener una ganancia o pedir prestado colateralizando en tu Bitcoin. Entonces, bueno, esta es una plataforma que a mí me parece muy interesante y vamos a pasar a las siguientes. Sovereign es una plataforma de trading, básicamente. Aaron habló de Honey Badger con el casco y así, muy cool la situación. Y acá mostró algo de las gráficas que se pueden ver en Sovereign. Y Money on Chain, que es el que conozco un poco más. Básicamente en esta plataforma tú puedes tener una stablecoin basada en Bitcoin, que a mi parecer, de forma muy personal, es una stablecoin que está mucho más fuerte que las que hemos visto en otros lugares. Aaron habló sobre TrueUSD, bueno, Tether, que básicamente tiene una promesa de que tiene un resguardo de dólares y de otros colaterales, pero no ha sido auditada, es decir, tenemos que confiar en su palabra. También lo que pasó con Luna, por ejemplo, una stablecoin algorítmica, que no tenía un colateral lo suficientemente fuerte como para poder soportar un bajón en el precio, que fue lo que terminó tirando todo lo que estaba desarrollado sobre Terra. Y pues básicamente en Money on Chain tú puedes tener una stablecoin llamada DOT. Si es que a ti no te gusta mucho esta cuestión de la volatilidad, pues esta es una buena plataforma para ti. Y a partir de tú también puedes tener otros diferentes productos que se manejan en Money on Chain. Está DOT, que ya hablé sobre DOT, que es la stablecoin, es Dollar on Chain. Está BPRO, que básicamente tú metes Bitcoin, bueno, RBTC, que recuerden que es el token que se maneja en Rootstock, y tú puedes hacer mucho más ganancia a partir de este token porque es utilizado a partir de BTCX, que es utilizado por traders. Entonces, en BTCX los traders pueden apalancarse, pero también ustedes saben que cuando te apalancas puedes también tener muchas más pérdidas. Entonces, todo esto va para acá y la gente que tiene BTC Pro pues recibe estas ganancias, ¿no? Entonces, pues básicamente eso es cómo funciona Money on Chain. Adelante.
I did explain Tropicus because Tropicus and Sovereign are kind of doing similar things. So I thought one example is enough. Tropicus is much more focused on the Latin American market. I think that's the main difference. And something now very different. I mean, you all heard about NFTs, I guess. Last year was a big NFT hype. The hype might be over, but I still think NFTs are very, very useful token. You can do a lot of things with it, not just bad apes and, and CryptoPunks, but lots of utility. Of course, art is still, especially digital art, is still one of the main use cases for NFTs. And there's this platform called Carnival, which is actually some of the founders of Rootstock are behind Carnival. It's also Buenos Aires space, and they have two things that I really like. A, it's based on Bitcoin on Rootstock, and B, it's very much like focusing on the art market in the sense that they don't want to totally reinvent the wheel, say, we don't need all these galleries, and so no, quite the opposite. They want to work together with the galleries. They want to work with the museums, with established art dealers, and they know the art market well. The CEO of Carnival, Connie Ansaldi, she's been an art lover and art expert for all her life, so she knows lots of people, she knows lots of artists. They just launched basically this at the big conference in Miami, and they're still like fine-tuning the platform. All the NFTs that we do, the ones that we exhibited here a while ago in the Bitcoin Embassy bar. First, of course, we had it on Ethereum because there was no other choice, but now we've all switched to Carnival, and you can buy all these crypto portraits and other things, which you will be able to see in Buenos Aires if you go to La BitConf in November. And Carnival is our platform of choice because I think they're really cool and they're done. It's a nice, like, maybe have a little look at the interface here. Yeah, this is one of the artworks that will be exhibited also at I have an art exhibition, crypto art and crypto culture. It will premiere in Buenos Aires at the Latin American Bitcoin Conference. The NFTs that are connected, you can buy them on Carnival. And the art exhibition is quite interesting. It's not just any kind of crypto art. All the artworks, they tell a story. They all talk about the things that make this whole Bitcoin and crypto movement so special. Because it's much more than just money or business or whatever, tech. It's a culture. It's a flourishing culture. We have our own lingo. We have our own little rituals. We have the pizza day. We have the honey badger. We have holu. We say to the moon, and we wear alpaca socks and all these crazy things. If you haven't been in the Bitcoin world for the last years, you think, what are these people talking about? Yeah. So we are using artworks to bring that crazy world of Bitcoin and crypto closer to normal people. And I think art is a wonderful tool for that. Because you can watch them here, for instance. So this is a picture of the miners. Of course, Bitcoin miners don't look like that. They don't have like dirty faces and lamps and so. But of course, it's a nice metaphor. So it's a visualization, and then people see that image and say, "Okay, what's that?" And there's a little story to it, in the catalog, in the book. Then you can even buy the book down here in the shop, right? But the real thing is the exhibition, which will take place in Southern Buenos Aires. I hope we can bring it to Mexico City as well. We are talking to some galleries here, because it's very important for me not to just preach to the flock, not to just reach the crypto community and the crypto crowd, but reach basically everybody. Yeah, that should be the mission: hyper Bitcoinization. And for me, art is a wonderful tool for that. What I find interesting is when you go to a normal crypto meetup, as we have here, I would say 80% male visitors, or even 90, I don't know. Might be nice for the ladies. I always find it something missing, if there's a party and there are no girls. In the art world, it's totally different. Go to a crypto art event, go to an NFT event, you have like 56 or more % female. I think it's, it has to do with the quality of art, and it's just a different approach, not the geek approach, more passion and emotion. And so I think that maybe women or not so geeky men like me can also relate to that. So I think that's a very important thing to work on all these channels, to work with art, to work with music. By the way, I also have a song for them, but I don't sing it now. You have to come to Buenos Aires if you want to hear me sing. Right? But the question I think should not go so much to me. I can try to answer the question, but we have a much better person to answer questions, because I guess you have some, and maybe some questions go beyond it. Just because is Diego already there? Is he present?
No. Voy a
iniciar otra. Maybe you might want to.
Sí, pero déjale, le mando la.
Then we have Diego Gutierrez. But if you have any question, or maybe the review first, right? Maybe the wrap up first.
Yeah, déjame, te voy a pasar a ti la liga, Aaron, para que puedas mandársela a Diego, porfis. Otra vez. Listo. Mándale la liga y mientras hago un pequeño resumen de lo que tú ya diste. ¿Dónde está? Listo. Aquí está. Bueno,
Listo, ahora sí. Tenemos también, por último ejemplo, Carnaval, que es una plataforma de NFTs sobre RSK. Originalmente estaba creada en Ethereum, pero porque no existe como la opción para poder migrarla a Bitcoin. Entonces, bueno, esta plataforma está creada ahí y va a haber una exposición de Carnaval. Carnaval va a estar presente en la Bitcoin. Hace rato se me pasó a decir eso, pero Aaron está invitando a todos los presentes a acompañarnos en la BitConf que se va a llevar a cabo en Argentina, en Buenos Aires, el próximo mes. Me parece que va a ser como del 10 al 14, 10 al 15 más o menos de noviembre, entonces si quieren acompañarnos, Aaron y yo vamos a estar por allá. Y también va a estar presente Carnaval con diferentes exposiciones de criptoarte. Lo que explicaba también Aaron es que criptoarte acerca a los individuos que no están muy empapados con la cultura de Bitcoin, porque tenemos otro lenguaje, otros términos que muchas veces resultan un poco extraños para la gente que no está muy cercana a Bitcoin. Tenemos términos como HODL, the moon, los mineros, ¿no? Por ejemplo, que es esta obra de aquí, que tiene una foto de mineros, aunque realmente los mineros de Bitcoin no lucen así. Pero bueno, el arte es una forma como de causar toda esta cultura alternativa que hemos creado alrededor de Bitcoin para que entonces podamos acercar más a la gente. Y Aaron mencionaba que específicamente en exhibiciones de criptoarte y cuando se trata de NFTs, generalmente hay mucha más afluencia de mujeres, tal vez por la cuestión de la estética, la cuestión del arte, que en los meetups más técnicos como este. Entonces, hace una buena forma, una buena herramienta para acercar a más personas a este mundo de Bitcoin. Y creo que ya eso es todo. No sé si ya te respondió Diego, ya le enviaste la liga. The link that I sent you,
Yeah.
did you send it to Diego already?
Oh, should I send it to you?
Yeah, please.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry.
Ok, so, ahorita vamos a esperar a Diego, que es el fundador de RSK, para que responda algunas preguntas que quedaron como en el aire, pero mientras Aaron está también dispuesto a responder algunas preguntas que ustedes tengan en lo que Diego se conecta. Entonces, bueno, Aaron, por favor, y mientras
If you want, I can answer some questions. Or maybe you stop the bar and drink a lot of beer here. So, yeah, but you are first. Yeah.
Yeah, the question that I have,
So people on the internet
¿qué tal a
also.
todos? Hello. The question that I have is that you say that this is a sidechain, right? But you have to, in any case, to achieve consensus somehow. The question is, then this project is running on a blockchain, correct?
Yeah.
In which one?
Well, there is a root.
Because it
there
is not a
root
blockchain
of-
itself, right?
It is a blockchain itself.
It is a blockchain.
It's a blockchain, but it is. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. It is a blockchain, and of course there are different rules than Bitcoin. Otherwise, it would work with accounts and smart contracts. So it is a different technological platform, but it is so connected to Bitcoin through this two-way tag and merge mining that although it is a separate thing, at the same time it's also very close to Bitcoin. That it could work on Bitcoin. So there are no Rootstock miners, there are no Rootstock nodes. These are all Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin nodes. And actually, they had to make all these corporations. So in the beginning, actually, what Diego did, maybe he can tell some stories, because when they started, Bitcoin was still very much in China. That has changed now in the last years, but at that time, he needed to convince the Chinese mining pools to mine Rootstock. So Diego speaks Chinese, he knows all the people. I guess he drank a lot of rice schnapps with the Chinese to convince them. And Diego is just such a nice guy, everybody loves Diego. And so he made friends with all the Chinese, and he had I don't know how many, maybe not 100%, but at least 67% of all the miners in the world were already on the side of Rootstock. And although now it's not longer in China, now it's not USA, Canada, Kazakhstan, whatever, but now, of course, Rootstock is no longer this beginner's project, it's an established thing. Of course, now there are more and more mining pools to do it, and it's just profitable. Yeah? So they're very connected. Yeah. So right.
Thank you very much. I learned quite a bit.
I'm wondering, have you tried out the platform Sovereign? And what does it look like? And especially the trading platform, does it have a deep liquidity in there?
Yeah, well, I'm personally not a trader. So what I did some swaps, I changed some token for the mother, I changed some Bitcoin, RBTC, simple things. So I used it, but I didn't do the money. I'm just not a trader. But there is liquidity in it.
It's like a regular website, like Binance. You log in and then do the trading in there.
Well, it's of course a Web3 thing. It's not like Binance. It's not that you have KYC and you have to put in yours. It's all Web3. So you log in with your wallet. Yeah, of course. It's like you can compare it more to maybe like Uniswap or other DeFi platforms.
So it uses the Rootstock wallet, right? Address.
Yes. The thing is that basically you can use a MetaMask. Yeah, I mean, of course, there are some wallets which are better prepared for Rootstock. For instance, if you use Equality or Nifty or some of those, you can there's just a drop down. You change from Ethereum to Rootstock. It's already there in the menu.
Right.
MetaMask, which is now of course the dominating DeFi wallet, it comes totally from the Ethereum world. So if you want to make it work with Rootstock, it works, but you have to put in some data and some long path, and it's a little bit geeky to do it, but it's possible. I usually work with MetaMask. Yeah?
And for the DeFi platform, what's the percentage right now on there?
I think these are questions for Nico, because of course, much more I think it's still pretty low, but the interesting is not so much how the status quo. The interesting is the development, because I think everybody who follows the market, I would see the problems here, right? I mean, Vitalik is a great guy, sure, but it's way too centralized, and has very many weak points. And then the others are not really better in a way. They're also like proof of stake, and they have other problems. So I think there are lots of pro arguments for Rootstock, and so in my understanding, maybe it's also a bit hope or whatever. Yeah, because I really like the project. I think in the future it will really take over. But we're not there yet. Yeah, it's like we're still in the phase where there are lots of dinosaurs running around. We can hardly see these little rats on the ground. Yeah, and these little rats, who are they? And the dinosaurs are big, but if the dinosaurs die out, and I mean, I think there will be lots of shake-offs in that, right? Lots of coins that will collapse. And I don't know if we see it will survive.
See, when people look at DeFi right now, they think about Luna, and a lot of people lost money in Luna. So it has a really bad connotation in the crypto community right now. And when you talk about another chain and then DeFi protocols on it, then people get suspicious. So let's say let's hope Diego can really help us, be more transparent and explain how that works in exact detail, so the community can be more to establish this kind of trust among it.
You're totally right. I mean, there's lots of frauds and shitcoin projects and bad projects. Luna's a very good example, and Luna did exactly wrong what Chain does right. Luna was not well enough collateralized. Yeah, this was way too risky. And I think that when I talked with Max Kaljusa, who was the kind of mastermind here at Chain, he said, yeah, this can never go wrong. This can never work. Maybe in the short run, people think, 18% interest, let's go, yeah. But when you have this very weak collateralization process, I mean, he comes from the finance world, and he's super conservative, That's a great thing about Bitcoin. And actually, all these problems that the shitcoins have and that DeFi has, yes, it brings a bad image to the rest of the world. But then you look at, but the Bitcoin people do it better, and the Chain has a over-collateralization of 1 to 8. It's very, very unlikely that it goes down. And when even the DAI, which was the oldest algo stablecoin, went out, they had to go in a state of emergency to change the system, and money changes work, like a good working horse. So yes, you're right. Of course, the image of crypto and DeFi has definitely suffered, but maybe that's good for something like Bitcoin based. Yeah, because as long as it works well, it's whatever. But these are probably there's Diego.
Sí, espera,
There's
déjalo
Diego.
subo
Hey,
acá.
my friend. Hello. Can we hear him?
Yeah,
Yeah.
just give me a minute because when you speak, we can hear it.
Okay. Well, I would say we are all Spanish speakers. You should talk to him in Spanish. So I would suggest that you do the moderation, okay?
Okay.
Maybe I ask a question every now and then, but I think it's your turn, okay?
Hola Diego, ¿nos escuchas?
Sí, perfecto. ¿Me escuchan a mí?
Sí, totalmente. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos hoy. Creo que puedes ver acá al público de Bitcoin en la ciudad.
Sí. Saludos a todos ahí.
Diego, como comentaba Aaron, es el fundador de RSK, uno de los fundadores. Y pues bueno, aquí ya nos dio una presentación bastante completa Aaron sobre lo que es RSK, sobre algunos protocolos que están escritos sobre RSK, más bien que están desarrollados, cuestiones de NFTs, de trading, stablecoins. Y bueno, no sé si quieras agregar alguna otra cosa o algún otro dato o dar algunos otros datos sobre RSK.
Sí, no sé bien qué cubrieron, pero bueno, RSK es la primera plataforma de contratos inteligentes asegurada por la red Bitcoin. Tiene más del 60% de los mineros Bitcoin protegiendo la blockchain de RSK y tiene todas las capacidades que tiene Ethereum, ¿no? Soporta el mismo lenguaje de programación que tiene Ethereum, que se llama Solidity, y es compatible también en las interfaces de programación. Entonces, cualquier aplicación que corre sobre Ethereum puede correr sobre Rootstock. Además, otras particularidades es que el puente que se creó entre Rootstock y Bitcoin es el primer puente operativo entre dos blockchains, ¿no? Lo que se llaman bridges, y está funcionando desde enero de 2018, nunca fue hackeado, tiene más de 3.000 bitcoins que están custodiados en ese país. Y es parte un poco, cuando creamos Rootstock, lo hicimos pensando en la visión de que Bitcoin podía escalar, digamos, podía seguir creciendo y expandiéndose a través de lo que llaman los sidechains, ¿no? Rootstock es un sidechain. Es una blockchain que tiene como moneda nativa a Bitcoin, pero que tiene funcionalidades distintas a las que tiene Bitcoin. Y en ese sentido, hay una razón por la cual Bitcoin sacrifica, si se quiere, ciertas funcionalidades y cierta escalabilidad, porque en las blockchains hay un trilema, digamos, entre justamente seguridad, escalabilidad y funcionalidad. Entonces, cuando uno suma más funcionalidad o genera más escalabilidad, está sacrificando la seguridad. Y como Bitcoin ha diseñado para ser la reserva de valor del mundo, maximiza la seguridad y sacrifica funcionalidad. Pero a través de segundas capas, como es Rootstock, tiene la posibilidad de también, con la misma infraestructura de seguridad, con los mismos mineros, tener todas las funcionalidades que otras redes tienen, dejando que la red primaria o la capa 1 mantenga la maximización de la seguridad.
Diego, maybe. Sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No, a ver.
Okay.
Sí.
Diego, maybe you can tell us the story, how this all started. How you
Okay.
met, the event of smart contract. I love that story, and I think everybody should hear it.
Absolutely. Bueno, Rootstock empezó desde varios ángulos. Por un lado, Sergio Lerner, que es el cofundador y es nuestro Chief Scientist, fue el primero en crear una criptomoneda Turing completo de propósito general en mayo del 2013 que se llamaba Pulsecoin, un año antes de que se anunciara Ethereum, ¿no? Con lo cual yo sabía que Sergio tenía las capacidades para hacer eso. Por otro lado, yo estaba haciendo algunas experiencias con gente de los barrios más pobres de Buenos Aires y Bitcoin, tratando de ver cómo podíamos generar un sistema financiero inclusivo con Bitcoin. Y en esas experiencias me había dado cuenta que Bitcoin no alcanzaba, ¿no? Que necesitábamos, la gente que vive día a día, semana a semana o mes a mes, no puede estar expuesta a la volatilidad de Bitcoin. Necesita de alguna manera lo que hoy se le dice stable assets o stablecoins. Y yo quería ver cómo generar eso sin tener que, o sea, bueno, estábamos hablando ahí con Nick Savo y yo le digo, bueno, y además yo creo que esto se podría construir sobre Bitcoin y creo que Sergio Lerner, que estuvo también en la Bitcoin, tiene la capacidad de hacerlo. Y dijimos, bueno, ¿por qué no lo apoyamos? Y detrás de eso, el amigo este en común le escribió un email a Sergio y le dijo, acá estamos con Nick, con Dieguito, y queremos hacer esto y se está dispuesto a hacerlo, nosotros te apoyamos. Y así empezó la idea de Rootstock, ¿no? Con la idea de extender Bitcoin Bitcoin para que se convirtiera en un sistema financiero completo con todas las funcionalidades y este sistema monetario entre pares, que no, digamos, que no depende de nadie, y hoy existe eso, existe tanto el sistema monetario como las primitivas financieras básicas, hay sistema de préstamos, intercambio de valor, todo asegurado por Bitcoin y con activos estables que están respaldados por Bitcoin. Así que bueno, así fue el comienzo. Después empezamos con Sergio a trabajar en el white paper. Sergio creó el white paper un poco con todas las ideas que él venía construyendo hace mucho tiempo. Sergio es core developer de Bitcoin y fue el security core developer de Bitcoin. Descubrió muchos bugs críticos de Bitcoin, varios que empezó de hecho para atacar Bitcoin. En 2011 él entró porque decía esto no puede funcionar, entró como para desacreditarlo y cuando se metió digamos, le pareció tan maravilloso, se encontró de hecho muchos bugs que podrían haber destruido la red Bitcoin, pero en lugar de hacerlo habló con el core team y ayudó al core team a fortalecer Bitcoin y a evitar esos bugs. Pero le pareció tan maravilloso lo que encontró que dijo, yo me tengo que quedar a defender esto, no voy a pegarlo. Así que diría que es una de las mentes más brillantes en el mundo cripto. Y bueno, y ahí empezó un poco el proceso, hicimos el white paper, estábamos como, no se lo queríamos compartir a mucha gente, se lo compartimos a 5 personas, Andrea Sartenopoulos entre ellos, creo que Eric Borges y a Nick Szabo, tanto con la idea que salió a tuitear, y por ahí está el tweet en octubre de 2015 diciendo Rootstock, lo mejor de Ethereum y Bitcoin en un solo lugar. Y ahí es como que no nos quedó alternativa, tuvimos que salir a buscar el fondeo para hacer el proyecto. Y en enero del 2016 finalmente conseguimos ese fondeo y empezó lo que es Rootstock. Bueno, ya ha sido un largo recorrido, ya pasaron 6 años, en 2018 nació la red.
qué es lo que está haciendo en este caso esta iniciativa respecto a este competidor natural presente en el mercado.
Bueno, en ese sentido, nosotros no vemos a Stacks como un competidor directo porque son modelos de seguridad distintos. O sea, Stacks usa Bitcoin, digamos, como los activos, pero por ejemplo la moneda nativa de Stacks es el STX, ¿no? Y tiene otra moneda para pagar por los fees. Y tiene un poco el problema este que yo mencionaba, ¿no? Que cuando uno tiene una moneda secundaria, la red secundaria es una moneda distinta de la red primaria, empezás a hacer una potencial amenaza de que use Bitcoin como activo para las funcionalidades. Y después el tema es que el modelo de stacks en cada uno de esos pods, ¿no? Que se arman es un modelo federado, ¿no? Entonces la seguridad de Rootstock es Merge Mine, es una seguridad muy superior. O sea, Rootstock tiene 60% del hashing power de Bitcoin, con lo cual es una de las redes de smart contracts más seguras del planeta y además más descentralizadas en ese sentido, ¿no? Como que son modelos distintos. Que eso no dice que Stacks no sirva. Yo creo que Stacks puede ser útil, pero depende del caso de uso. Si uno quiere hacer un sistema monetario entre pares, no puedes tener un modelo federado o tener una seguridad menor. Necesitas la máxima seguridad posible, porque estamos hablando de sistemas que eventualmente hoy manejan cientos de millones de dólares, pero el día de mañana pueden manejar cientos de miles o millones de millones, ¿no? Trillones en la lengua inglesa, billones en la lengua hispana. Entonces, creo que son, digamos, me parece que no es competidor Stacks con Rootstock bueno, puede ser competidor para ciertos casos, ¿no? Que gestionan menor valor o que está bien que funcionen de manera federada, ¿no? Pero para cosas que pueden ser atacadas por un gobierno o por uno necesita proof of work, necesitas centralización, o sea, necesitas otros modelos. Entonces, como nuestra mirada es más esa, ¿no? Nuestro propósito es crear un sistema financiero y le pueda dar servicio a cualquier persona del planeta, y en especial a aquellos que están excluidos del sistema financiero, ¿no? Entonces, como que justamente como es gente que es muy vulnerable, que normalmente para nosotros es muy importante la seguridad. Entonces hay ciertos casos de uso que creo que van a pertenecer a Rootstock y no a otras redes de Bitcoin.
Gracias.
No, un gusto. Y una cosa que es interesante para entender es todo Layer 2 de Bitcoin. En general lo que todos comparten es que guardan sus estados, el estado de la red de la capa 2 en la blockchain de Bitcoin, ¿no? Como que usan Bitcoin para anclar el estado de la red secundaria dentro de Bitcoin. Algunas usan Bitcoin como moneda nativa, como por ejemplo Liquid de Blockstream y Rootstock. En el caso de Stacks no usa Bitcoin como moneda nativa. Y bueno, Lightning también, ¿no? Ancla su estado de cada uno de los canales y además usa Bitcoin. Y después, algunas, en este caso sería Rootstock la única, también comparten el poder de procesamiento, también comparten la infraestructura de seguridad. Con lo cual hay muchas maneras de hacer un sidechain o un layer 2, ¿no? Un sidechain, por definición, tiene que tener Bitcoin como moneda nativa.
Muchas gracias, Diego. ¿Hay alguna otra pregunta aquí sobre Rootstock? ¿Sobre segundas capas o sobre tokens? ¿No? Ok. De lo que quieran. Acá tienen al fundador de Rootstock. Okay.
Certificado de la vida.
Tiene una pregunta.
What can we expect at the Latin American Bitcoin Conference? Will there be a big news? I don't know, new country accepting deals or whatever?
La Bitcoin, creo que ahí atrás había, en el medio había una pregunta también, así que después pero la Bitcoin es espectacular. Siempre lo decimos con Rodolfo, que es el cofundador de la Bitcoin, y con Matías, es el otro cofundador. Pero la Bitcoin no es la conferencia de negocios, es como una gran fiesta. La Bitcoin va a ser entre el 10 y 14 de noviembre en Buenos Aires. y es espectacular, es como lo que creo que es de las mejores, si no es la mejor conferencia que hay de Bitcoin seguro que es la mejor conferencia que hay, en cripto es una de las mejores seguro, porque es como una experiencia, es una gran fiesta. Y uno puede ir por primera vez y toda la gente te recibe y te hace parte y uno termina saliendo ahí con muchos amigos. Así que vale la pena. Y han pasado por esa conferencia todos los grandes oradores, ¿no? Andreas Antonopoulos, Roger Ver, que hoy es un poco más controversial, pero también estuvo ahí, Eric Wolfis, Adam Back, Ixao, diría que casi, digamos, todos los grandes oradores y grandes mentes del mundo cripto han pasado por la vista. Y este año es la 10ª edición, o sea, empezamos en el 2013, así que va a ser muy especial. O sea, va a ser como de otra escala, va a ser una conferencia muy, muy grande. Así que vale la pena.
Diego, ¿qué charla tienes planeada para la Bitcoin, para estar preparados con preguntas sobre el tema?
Para la Bitcoin estoy preparando una charla nueva, estoy viendo a ver bueno, si hay espacio porque ya tenemos todo el roster de charlas lleno, pero estoy preparando una charla que es como cómo sería una sociedad blockchain en el futuro, o sea, cuáles son las implicancias de una sociedad basada en Bitcoin y tecnologías blockchain, ¿no? Con identidad soberana, un sistema monetario que no depende de los estados. Como imaginar un poco cómo sería el mundo del futuro con todo esto que estamos creando. Creo que hay varios fenómenos que están interesantes de entender. Yo creo que vamos a una hiperglobalización en un punto, es decir, bueno, Bitcoin como reserva de valor universal apolítica, o sea, que no tiene un país que lo controle, y después hiperlocalización, ¿no? Las comunidades pudiendo crear su propio dinero, y después toda la interconexión entre esas economías comunitarias y la economía mayor. Ese es un factor que me parece va a ser muy disruptivo, porque todo el mundo hoy se arma en torno al Estado-Nación, que es lo que venimos usando en los últimos 300 años, pero para mí el Estado-Nación le está fallando a la gente. Ahí lo vemos un poco en las democracias, en cómo están funcionando hoy, y creo que todas estas tecnologías van a ayudar a recuperar mucho poder en las ciudades, o sea, devolver el control, digamos, a las ciudades, a las regiones locales. Entonces creo que va a ser un mundo mucho más cercano a las comunidades y menos globalizado en ese sentido. Entonces, creo que es como paradójico. Vamos a ser mucho más globales, vamos a tener un sistema financiero global por diseño, una reserva de valor global, pero al mismo tiempo vamos a tener muchas de las decisiones que hoy se toman a nivel nacional, se van a empezar a tomar a nivel de las ciudades, los municipios, o sea, mucho más cerca de la gente. Y el tema de la identidad soberana, que lo mencionaba antes, para mí es fundamental, porque lo que hace es que ya ni siquiera necesites que una nación diga quién sos vos. Hoy estamos acostumbrados que el que crea el documento de identidad es una nación, y en realidad la identidad es una construcción social. ¿Por qué necesitamos que una nación diga quién somos? Basta que mucha gente diga quién somos, la construcción de las interacciones, quizás que varias ciudades digan quién somos, o sea, se puede armar un entramado de identidad que no requiere de un Estado nacional para decir quién somos. Y eso es mucho más resiliente, ¿no? También, porque un Estado, un gobierno puede quitarte la identidad, pero si hay un montón de otros estados que siguen validándote como persona, no pueden evitar que vos sigas existiendo.
Me encanta el tema que tienes preparado para la Bitcoin. No puedo esperar para escucharte en el escenario principal, seguramente. Y pues no sé si quieras agregar alguna otra cosa, Diego. ¿Dónde podemos seguir a Rootstock? ¿Dónde te podemos seguir a ti? ¿Cómo podemos seguir el progreso?
Sí, mi alias es Dieguito, así que en Twitter, ahí me encuentran. Y así que es fácil. Y después, Rootstock, el sitio es rck.co, y ahí encuentran toda la información también para desarrolladores, hay comunidades, desarrolladores, todos los protocolos que existen, las billeteras, todo lo que se puede hacer está ahí. Bueno, y si me siguen, seguramente voy a estar posteando las novedades de la Bitcoin también. Si alguno se puede escapar a Buenos Aires, es bienvenido. Me avisan y los invitaremos a los diferentes eventos.
Muchísimas gracias por toda la información, Diego. Voy a terminar en este momento la transmisión para empezar con el networking. Gracias por habernos acompañado hoy. Un aplauso, por favor, para Diego.
Muchas gracias. Un abrazo a todos.
Y pues nos vemos entonces en la vid contigo. Y bueno, ya para terminar el Meetup, pues nada, muchas gracias por acompañarnos desde casa, gracias a los que nos acompañaron aquí en presencial, y la próxima semana tenemos una fiesta de disfraces con barra libre, con un pequeño concurso de disfraces donde voy a premiar con botellas de tequila y consumos para Bitcoin en Basibar para los que quieran acompañarnos. No es necesario el disfraz, pero si quieren ganarse la botella de tequila, pues vengan disfrazados. Hagan el pequeño esfuerzo. Y esos serían como los anuncios parroquiales. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos y nos vemos en la próxima transmisión. Hasta pronto. Bye.